Hello everyone and welcome to my new channel, Fred's Model Railways. I decided to start a new channel because my old channel was a bit all over the place. There were numerous things like reviews, models running, visits to museums, real trains, and I just wanted it to be a bit more condensed and a bit more professional. So I decided to start a new channel which will focus only on models, and my old channel, A44468, will only focus on real trains and go into things like preservation societies. So I'm going to start with model reviews. Now I'm going to do these reviews in 5 different sections over 2 videos. The first section will be the model itself, just going over the model, how the constructor of the model is, the quality of it, any little features that the model has. Secondly, there will be the customizations I've made and personalizations, such as lamps and the sound. Thirdly, I'll be showing you the model running on a rolling road, which I have with me. The 4th section will be the DCC, because I'm very into DCC. If you've seen my old channel, you'll see. And it'll go on the fitting of the DCC, what I had to do, any modifications I had to make. And the final section will be in a separate video, the sound of the model, and that will go through a rundown of all the sound, all the functions that it does, or as many as I can fit in, while on the rolling road. So let's begin. First model, Bachmann 9F. I got this a few weeks ago from the train shop in Scarborough. At the end of the box you'll see model number 32-857, 9F210O standard, number 92077, BR black, late crest, BR1C tender. Now I will say, I do apologise if the focus is a little lacklustre. I've had a lot of problem with focus on the camera, and I originally tried to start doing this in another room, but there wasn't enough light. So please look out for that, so I'm sorry. The model out first. It's one of the old style boxes this, so it's not the best packaging. So we look inside the box. Basic narrow outside box, very little information on it. Inside you've got this little fold over section which tells you about the history of the locomotive. A nice little picture, well, all the information falls out from in the inside. Information on the real locomotive, which I'll be giving you in a minute. And else is in the box, as the cat jingles its bell very, very loudly. We've got a breakdown of the locomotive. That tells you all the information like removing the body, parts, numbers, goes through everything. Basically, any part of this model will be in here. Also, there's a warranty. Yeah, customer guarantees, warranty information, stuff like that. And also there's this for house sound. Now that won't be done till the second video, so we're leaving that out for now. Right, the model itself. Now, I had to actually make modifications to this box, just tilt it very carefully, for the simple fact that I've done several things to this model, and I've actually had to cut a section of the box out. If you notice, there's a massive gap here that I've filled up with this foam, because I've actually had to cut part of the box out. Now, I'm actually going to do a jump cut to get this model out, because it's a bit tricky. And here we have it, out of the box. The reason the jump cut there is because the box is an old-fashioned polystyrene box, what the first models of the 9F came in. Nowadays it's all the plastic shell which folds out and everything, whereas this, I actually had to cut massive sections out of the box because I fitted sound to it. The tender and locomotive need to be permanently fit together. Let's see if I just turn it round. You can just make out some wires just there in the little gap. And that's the reason, because some people say you should put an electric plug in there so you can kind of fit them together like the new Hornby models. But to be honest, I didn't have the expertise for that, so I just stuck it together like that. The model itself is quite nicely finished. I've just noticed there's a chip of paint off one of the wheels there. And there's a problem with modifying these things. They get a little bit damaged when you're trying to make them look better. I don't know if it's everybody, it's just my unsteady hands, but there you go. The 9F itself in service, they introduced in 1954, designed by Robert Riddles, who worked on all the British Railway Standard types and a few War Department types as well. They were built up until 1960, Evening Star, number 9220 being the last of them, and they were withdrawn in 1968. So a few of them only achieved about 5 or 6 years service, which is a shame for such a nice engine. They were designed for heavy long-distance freight, although they were seen on passenger services and could achieve a top speed of 90 miles an hour, but it wasn't a good idea because apparently the rods would get overstressed, so I guess it would run normally about 70 miles an hour. The model itself is quite well made. Although it's a pristine finished model, I still think it looks nice, even though you never saw a 9F looking this clean. The model itself, it runs quite nicely. It's got a fair bit of weight behind it. I've actually got a Hornby model of Evening Star, one of the old tender drive models, and it's just not as nice as this one. I know it's an older model, the Hornby Evening Star that I've got, but when Bachmann said they were releasing one with locomotive drive, anybody that wanted one was really happy, such as myself, because we got sick of the tender drive. And it works really, really well. As for the modifications and little personalisations I've put on it, a couple of things you get with the model. You get the ejector pipes down here, and a couple of hoses for the front. Those come standard. However, I've actually fitted a simulated coupling to the front end. I've painted the ejector pipes copper, just to give them a bit more standing out. In the cab, as you see, there's actually a spring side cab crew in there. I've got a pre-painted one. I usually paint my own, but I didn't have any spare. The tender, I've actually recalled it, and as I say, it fitted sound, but I will be showing that in a separate video. Just give you a nice side view of the model there. Tilt my camera up. There you go. It's a nice looking model for a freight engine. I think they look really, really nice. Anyway, now it's on to the running. Okay, now we're going to get onto the running of the model. But before I do, I'd like to say one personalisation thing that I usually do with engines I forgot to mention. The headlamps, the spring side headlamps, they're British Rail ones. And they're in the express unfitted freight configuration. Although I have seen him use it several times for passenger services. So I could easily run this with a passenger train and it'd be just as effective. Now before I put it on, let's move the camera there. I'm going to show you this. These are the rolling road sections I use. They were £8.99 each from Direct Train Spares of Lancashire. And basically what you do is you put them on the track. These screws fit in between the sleepers. The metal contacts sit on the rails, and these little rollers here is where the wheels go. So, I'll show you putting it on. I say I haven't got one for every wheel, but I've lined it up as best I can. There we go. Just spin that round. There we go. Now, I know not all the models in shot there, but I'm mainly just focusing on the wheels for now. Turn my Bachmann Dynamics on. Yeah, I use the Bachmann Dynamics for my DCC. Right. Take it up to speed step 4 or 28. And there we go, she's off. Very nice smooth motion there. I'll take the speed which you usually run it, which I think would be speed step 11. It's a little jerk forward there. Yeah, unfortunately the wheels don't sit on the rolling road 100%, but as you can see the rear driving wheel is sat on one of the rollers and it does work like that. I haven't had a problem so far. Okay. Take it up. Here's speed step 14. Move the camera to the front. Go up speed step 28. Try on maximum speed. Yeah, that's about maximum speed for the engine. Come all the way back down again to speed step 0. And we're up to a steady speed step 4. So there shows you going all the way up to top speed. Speed step 4 show you the nice workings of the motion here. It's very, very smooth all this here. And you see it runs very, very smoothly. There's a little tapping sound every now and then, I'm not sure where it's from. but it doesn't happen too often, so it's okay. Bring it down to 0 and a stop. Okay, now onto the DCC. The DCC plug is actually about here inside the model. It's an 8-pin plug, and this model, it's not actually designed for sound, so I had to make a few modifications. That's what I want to talk about with my models in the DCC section. The decoder is here in the model, and what I had to do was run wires all the way down the locomotive into the tender. You can just make them out there, excuse me. And there's a 28mm speaker housed in the back of the tender, and I've actually made some holes in the bottom of the tender so the sound will come out a lot more clearly. We'll hear about that in the second video that I'm going to do for this model, and I'll run through all 10 DCC functions. Under DCC, to be honest, I thought it would run quite jerkily, but it didn't. It ran fairly nicely, actually. Say that about fitting the DCC is a bit of a pain, because going along the boiler, you've actually got a metal weight, and it's actually got a groove in it for all the wires. Trouble is, you get to the cab, and there is practically no room for wires to go through unless they're very, very thin. So that's the main problem I have with this model, getting the wires to the tender. And also, if you unhook the locomotive and tender, the wires stop you completely separating them, so handling this model does become a little bit of a pain if you make that modification. If anybody wanted to do it, I have to seriously recommend you doing it. The sound is from a real 9F. There's 9 preserved all over the country, and Howes have actually used the recordings from the real locomotive. On the website, they actually said the better option would be to run wires all the way through and put the decoder and speaker in the tender. To be honest, I didn't have the skill to do that, so I just kept it in the configuration that it is. So all in all, the model itself, it's a very, very nicely produced model. It's definitely a fine tribute to the real 9F. It does allow for your own modifications, such as the lamps and the hoses that I've put on. Would I recommend you buy this model? Yes, I would. This one was about £118, I believe. I bought it from the train shop in Scarborough. It was the last one they had, so I would consider myself quite lucky to get it. The sound decoder was £118 from House Sound, sorry. So all in all, it does get a bit expensive. I mean, I've spent probably about £260 on this whole engine, including the lamps and the cab crew and everything. But all in all, I think it makes a very fine model. I heartily recommend it for anybody doing 1960s layouts with steam locomotives. I myself will be buying some more wagons to go with it. I've only got one of them in. I've got the brake van, but I'm planning on getting about 6 other wagons to make a nice, not too long freight train, but one that's long enough. So anyway, hope you enjoyed this video. Look out for part 2 where I'll be doing the sound. Thank you very much for watching, and I shall see you later.